Job, the silent sufferer. Have you ever wondered why the righteous suffer? Why the innocent cry out, and heaven seems silent? Why a good man can lose everything and yet still whisper, "Blessed be the name of the Lord." This is the story of Job, the man who stood between agony and faith, between silence and surrender, between the ash heap of despair and the whisper of eternity. In the land of Uz, there lived a man named Job. He was known for his integrity, his faith, and his kindness. He was blessed beyond measure with wealth, children, and honor. His flocks covered the hills, his servants filled the courtyards, and his laughter echoed through the halls of a peaceful home. Each morning, Job rose before the dawn to pray for his children. He offered sacrifices on their behalf, saying, "Perhaps they have sinned in their hearts." He lived not only for his own righteousness, but for the holiness of those he loved. He was a man the world called blessed. But heaven saw something deeper. For even faith that shines bright must be tested in the fire. Far above the earth, in the unseen realm, a meeting took place. The sons of God stood before the Lord, and among them came the adversary. The Lord asked, "From where do you come?" The adversary replied, "From roaming the earth, walking back and forth upon it." Then the Lord said, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is none like him, blameless and upright, one who fears God and shuns evil." The adversary smiled. "Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not placed a hedge around him, and blessed all he touches? But stretch out your hand and strike what he has, and he will curse you to your face." And the Lord said, "Behold, all that he has is in your power, only do not lay a hand on him." Then the testing began. A messenger came running. "The Sabaeans raided your oxen and donkeys, they're gone, and your servants slain." Before he finished speaking, another arrived. "Fire from heaven fell and consumed your sheep and shepherds." Another came breathless. "The Chaldeans formed 3 bands and took your camels, all gone." And as the final words still lingered in the air, a 4th messenger fell to the ground before Job. "Your sons and daughters were feasting in your eldest son's house." And suddenly, a great wind struck from the wilderness. The house collapsed. "They are all gone." The world stood still. Job tore his robe and fell to the ground. But instead of cursing, he worshipped. He whispered through his tears, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." In all this, Job did not sin. He did not accuse God of wrongdoing. But the adversary was not finished. Again he appeared before the throne. And the Lord said, "Job still holds fast to his integrity, though you incited me against him without cause." The adversary sneered, "Skin for skin. Strike his flesh and bone and he will curse you." The Lord replied, "Behold, he is in your hand, but spare his life." And so the adversary struck Job with painful sores from head to foot. He sat among the ashes, scraping his wounds with a broken piece of pottery. His skin burned, his breath grew shallow, his strength faded like smoke. His wife, broken and bitter, cried out, "Do you still hold to your integrity? Curse God and die." But Job answered gently, "Shall we receive good from God, and not evil?" And even then he did not sin with his lips. Days turned to nights, nights to weeks. 3 friends came from afar, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. When they saw him from a distance, they did not recognize him. They tore their robes, wept aloud, and sat beside him in silence. For 7 days and 7 nights, no one spoke a word. Because sometimes, words are too small for suffering. When they finally spoke, their words wounded deeper than his sores. They accused him of hidden sin. They said, "Surely, Job, you have done wrong, for God is just. The innocent do not suffer so." Job lifted his weary eyes and said, "I have done no wrong. I cry for justice, but heaven is silent. My soul is poured out within me. If only there were one to plead my case before God." He looked to the heavens and found only silence. He searched for meaning and found only pain. But still, he refused to curse the name of the Lord. One night, as wind howled across the desert, Job cried out from the ashes, "I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end, he will stand upon the earth. Though my flesh be destroyed, yet in my flesh shall I see God." It was the cry of faith born in darkness. A faith that does not see, yet believes. Then came a storm. Thunder rolled across the plains, and a whirlwind rose from the horizon. Out of the tempest came the voice of God. "Who is this that darkens counsel with words without knowledge? Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Have you commanded the morning, or walked in the depths of the sea? Tell me, if you know." The voice was not cruel, but mighty, vast, unsearchable. Job covered his face with trembling hands. "I spoke of things I did not understand, things too wonderful for me to know. My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you. Therefore I repent in dust and ashes." In that moment, the silence of heaven broke, not with answers, but with presence. Then the Lord turned his anger toward Job's friends. "You have not spoken rightly of me as my servant Job has." He commanded them to offer sacrifices, and Job prayed for them, the very ones who wounded him with words. And when Job prayed for others, the Lord restored him, not just his health or his wealth, but his peace. His herds returned, greater than before. His home was filled with laughter again. He held new sons and daughters in his arms, each one a living token of mercy. But in Job's eyes, there was something deeper now. A wisdom born from sorrow. A calm that only comes from meeting God in the storm. Years later, when the desert winds whispered his name, people would remember not his riches, nor his pain, but his faith. The man who lost everything, yet never lost God. Job, the silent sufferer. He did not find answers in the ashes, but he found God. And that was enough. For faith is not proven in comfort, but in the fire. Grace is not born in plenty, but in the pit of despair. And sometimes, the greatest worship is not in the song we sing, but in the silence we keep, when all else is gone. And still, we say, "Blessed be the name of the Lord."